Hi, I am Arthres and I am an individual coach. Today I will present to you the most common missed basics made by my students that will help you if you want to get better and climb. Number 1. Opening the lane. What's your plan for the start of the game? Most often players don't even think about it, and if they have some plans, usually they are talking about few minutes ahead or stuff like when I get my ult. To make it easier, let's use these questions. Who's winning level 1? If it's our champion, how so? Aggression and poke, or maybe with push power, so we can manage our wave the way that will give us some lead? What spell does my enemy have? Maybe his W has 50 seconds cooldown and we should know about this opportunity. Do we fight for level 2? A very common thing among the players is, yeah, let's get that level 2 and win, but what if we play into a Renekton on top who is very strong early and he starts pushing immediately? Is it actually worth to fight him? Maybe we can just wait for him to push and collect minions without fighting him early as he wants. What are so-called win cons that my enemy have on the lane? As previously mentioned, in Renekton's example, is his goal to dominate us in early, or maybe enemy champion sucks early and he wants to scale in peace? It's worth thinking about your enemy and not only focus on ourselves, as you might miss many obvious opportunities. If your conclusion in the matchup ends up with play aggressive early, then one of the most common mistakes is coming to the lane late. Even 2-3 seconds can make a difference, as if your enemy is aware of your early advantage, he might try to push the wave before you. Imagine you have the same push potential early and he starts with 3 auto attacks ahead of you. Good luck with catching up to that. 2. Our goal on the lane. Not the kills, not the turrets, or as many CS per minute. The most important thing, which literally has an impact on everything, is the wave management. If your wave is correctly set, it will help with all of the above, and if it isn't, and if you decide to prioritize some of the above, usually you will end up without mana to push or minions so deep in the lane that you can't crush safely. So if you have the right wave setup, you can trade, usually more minions allow that, you can roam, usually crashing the wave into the enemy turret will allow it, you can poke under the turret, well, push again helps with that, recall without losing minions, pushing helps as well, and you don't have to worry about being exposed. If your enemy pushed you and you hug your turret, he's the one exposed to the ganks, right? 3. The scheme of trading. Our question here is, what are enemy cooldowns? Most players are basing it on feeling when they actually never checked it. As when we think about how to open the lane, we want to think about next levels too. We can visualize how the trades in our matchup will look like. Ask yourself, can I just all-in him every time I have spells? Maybe I have to be careful with my position cause he has a dash. It's the best to think from the start what our champion does and how we want to deal damage and what's the opponent's vision for us. And still, the most important thing for us is wave management, so if trading seems hard, you don't have to worry, as you can work on your wave to make sure you will be able to farm and won't expose yourself for stronger enemy. Think about the wave all the time, and if it seems that you're going to run out of mana sooner than your enemy, then you need to adapt and plan how you will spend the mana and set up the recall. Ideally by crushing your wave into the enemy turret and losing as little as possible. And with that we come to number 4, which is recalls. Here we want to remember that we want to recall as often as possible when the wave is crushed into enemy turret and avoid recalling when our enemy is hitting our turret. How do you know that is the time to think about the recall? Well, first argument is gold. If you are getting close to 700, you should start looking on the recall window, as you might buy your first components. Very often people are like, but I still can be there and farm, and yeah, that's true, but with items you will have more opportunities, and if the situation is so good, probably you can crush the wave and make it really hard for your enemy to match your recall. And the second argument is health or mana. You see your HP and mana is dropping and fights are getting harder, make sure that you will keep track of that, because if you will find yourself with 300 HP and 50 mana and cannon wave to push, that might be a very hard situation. This mainly applies to early game, and sometimes you have to stay to help your team, but if your team doesn't need your help, you can help yourself with recalling properly. Another point will be vision. If you plan to push, usually you want to have some vision, so what you want to do is, instead of placing the wards like this, when you know you're gonna be exposed here, you want to have a vision somewhere deeper, because what's the issue? Well, if I'm gonna walk up a little bit further, there's an enemy, but I don't see him here, right? If I'm fighting the minions somewhere here, I'm not seeing this angle. So what I want to do is I want to place some vision here. And what I want to do as well is I want to have a vision correctly set, which means I don't want to have ward here, because you might be like, oh yeah, but you see him, but actually I'm not, right? Because as you can see, the range is not hitting it. So if I have a vision here, and let's say this ward is not there, if I'm pushing forward, I can play towards the left pocket, because this is called the left pocket, right? Like the left pocket of the middle. I can simply be aggressive, I can crush, and if something happens, if my enemy is there, I can just spot him. Hey, you are there, some minions will reveal him, and I can just run to the other side. And it's much easier that way. Same goes on the bot lane, for example. Like, if I know I will be pushing because there's like big wave under my turret, and minions are gonna bounce, and I'm going to push, and I'm like, okay, I got the items, I got everything, I wanna push, then why the hell would I need this kind of ward? I've seen it so many times that this ward was placed, and then 20 seconds later, they are here, and enemy jungler is just passing by there, and it's like, oh, how did that happen? So remember to place your vision deep enough and plan ahead like 30 seconds forward what you want to do, because instead of having this try-push warded, you can have this try-push warded, and it's so much better. And last point, mid-game approach. In mid and late game, most common mistake is thinking your team will wait and you can catch that one more wave or camp, and they will not. And you saying they should wait over and over won't change it. It sucks because you are probably right. Catching this wave to get prio and then fighting is better, but if they don't play around it, you are the only one that can change something in your games. So match the recalls and rotations with them, and remember, to think during the game about this, and you will have much easier time. Having arguments and planning the things makes stuff really easier. And if you want more help, subscribe to the channel as there will be more videos, or get coaching from me here. Remember to leave a comment and like the video, and see ya in the next one.